Hey, how are you? It's time to read something. Why I'm not here? That's my question. Why it says proximamente and not right now? There you go. I just want to test. Okay, good, great, excellent. So let's start with this. Let's start a little bit with this. Okay, my love. Let's start with this reading about the Montauk Project. And so, okay, let's take a read at this. The Montauk Project. Okay, great. So, here we go. On a remote tip of Long Island, New York, in the hamlet of Montauk, stands either a relic of World War II fears or an ultra sophisticated scientific vase devoted to some of the most terrifying research in American history. The place is ostensibly called Camp Hero and is now a state park. But according to an almost limitless series of books, TV documentaries, and websites, the US government used Camp Hero to research time travel, the opening of otherworldly portals, the enhancement of latent physic abilities, and psychological warfare. All of these went on for decades until a few courageous whistleblowers published a book in the early 1990s, blowing the lid off the whole evil thing. What's called the Montauk Project took off just as the conspiracy theory community was making the leap onto the internet. It encompasses a wide range of supposedly secret technology being harnessed by an evil government for sinister purposes, and equally little evidence to support their existence. And these secrets, paradoxically, are reported on so extensively that they are almost common knowledge now. But the let me point at this at you. But the Montauk Project is also so compelling to mainstream audiences that it spawned the hit TV series Stranger Things, multiple reality TV shows, and countless books. There must be something to the strange doings at Camp Hero that fires the public imagination, even if the more outlandish claims are shrouded in mystery. Or maybe that's just what they want us to think. The horrors of Camp Hero. Montauk, New York, has a population of just 3,300 people, but its location makes it one of the most strategically important places on the East Coast. The early American military built the Montauk Lighthouse to keep watch for British ships trying to enter Long Island Sound, while during World War II, the Navy turned Montauk into 112-hectare base full of coastal artillery, docks, and planes. That base was named Camp Hero. after recently deceased Army Chief of Coast Artillery, and would serve as one of the first points of contact should the Axis try to invade New York. The invasion never came, and in keeping with changing technology, Camp Hero was converted into a state-of-the-art radar installation meant to pick up incoming Soviet bombers and missiles. But by 1984, even that threat had largely passed, and Camp Hero was shut down and donated to the state for future use as a park and ecological reserve. The closure of a fairly sophisticated military facility sparked conspiracy theories that were eventually collected in the 1992 book The Montauk Project: Experiments in Time, written by Preston Nichols and Peter Moon. The author alleged, based on Nichols' repressed memories being recovered, that Camp Hero. Oh, I was outside the loop. There you go. That Camp Hero was home to a top secret experiment called the Phoenix Project. It continued work that the US government first began in the 1940s with the Philadelphia experiment. A plot to make a naval warship invisible, only to have it drive its crew to mental breakdown. Funded by Nazi gold, the Phoenix Project built a massive bunker under the camp and used it to test mind control technology by subjecting kidnapped orphans to massive hits of electromagnetic radiation from a thought transforming device they called the Montauk chair. At the same time, the government used secret technology developed by Nikola Tesla to break down the barriers between time and space, once even making a quantum interlock with the original Philadelphia experiments and bringing two sailors forward in time over 40 years. There were also rumors of alien ships, teleportation, involvement by the Nazi Order of the Black Sun, the building of a 50-foot titanium figura on the grounds, and young boys reprogrammed into super soldiers to be unleashed at the right time. Finally, when the time portal created at Montauk began disgorging terrifying creatures from other dimensions, Nichols could stand no more. He smashed the Montauk chair, and many of the most arcane and horrible experiments ended. No more kidnapped orphans, no more time portals. Or did they end? In 2008, the carcass of a bizarre creature washed on the shore of Montauk, a beast. Okay, let's make a pause there to take a look at this radar here. It says the decommissioned radar station at Camp Hero in Montauk, New York. Now, you were here, right? Let's recap. Or did they end? In 2008, the carcass of a bizarre creature washed onto the shore of Montauk. The carcass of a bizarre creature washed on to the shore of Montauk, a beast. Quickly dubbed the Montauk monster by the media and deemed proof that whatever the Montauk chair brought through the portal was real and maybe still around. Stranger Things, but not that strange. Despite scattershot approach and lack of evidence, the Montauk Project conspiracy theory took off. After all, despite scattershot approach, after all, the government was already involved in terrible experiments involving mind control and drugs under the M culture umbrella. And the Cold War was a desperate time where the threat of nuclear annihilation pushed the US to develop weapons once seen only in science fiction. So, why couldn't this be true too? Buoyed by its initial success in the conspiracy community, Nichols and Moon churned out an endless series of Montauk books and allegations, including a sequel. 2 years later, and other books about the pyramids of Montauk, the Nazi connection to Montauk, and links to aliens from the Pleiades cluster. Other writers soon took their work and spun it into even more bizarre directions. As the years went on, the Montauk project got bigger, more expensive, and less plausible. Its time tunnel was set to have changed the outcome of the Civil War. It was supposedly the birthplace of the Men in Black, the headquarters of the black helicopters used by the government against citizens, and where the legendary Jersey Devil monster was spawned. Others accused it of being where the moon landing hoax was filmed and even where AIDS was invented. Nikola Tesla was alleged to be running the experiments there, despite having been dead for decades, using a staff entirely of Nazi scientists. The conspiracy theories became so expansive that there was simply no credible way for one place to have spawned all of its evil deeds, particularly a place as small and isolated as Camp Hero. It strains even the logic of conspiracy theories that one place could be the site of a time tunnel, mind control experiments, physics, psychic chambers, and biological laboratories. One maybe, but all of them? The authors of the original Montauk Project book never let go of their claims, with Nichols asserting the Montauk story until his death in 2008, in 2018, and finding a rich vein of fringe material. Hollywood came calling, giving even more credibility to Nichols and Moon. Elements of Men in Black and the X Files were based on Montauk mythology, and Stranger Things not only used huge part of the psychic child soldier dimensional portal methods, but was even called Montauk early in its development. But none of it has ever been proven to be real. Camp Hero is now a park and wildlife refuge that gets hundreds of thousands of visitors, and no one has found any evidence of anything the Montauk Project authors allege. Likewise, the Philadelphia experiment that supposedly formed the basis for the Montauk Project has never been proven to have taken place, while the Montauk monster of 2008 was almost certainly a decayed raccoon. Montauk speaks to our desire to see the dark hand of government control in every strange happening, even if they didn't actually happen. But it's also a window into our need for great stories full of bizarre events, heroic whistleblowers, larger than life danger, and evil villains in lab coats who come for our children. Montauk has but Montauk has them all. The Montauk Project might remain a myth, but it's powered by some of the oldest notions in the human psyche, and that's why it retains its power. Here you can take a look at the monster they're talking about. This is the Jersey Devil. Is one of many strange occurrences that has since been attributed to the Montauk Project. And here's a picture of it says the Phoenix Project at Camp Hero was allegedly funded by Nazi gold and was apparently a U.S. military research program to develop mind control technology. Excellent. So, Morcho, I'm going to read philosophy now. What do you think? Okay, my Morcho says okay. So let's change subjects here. Let's change subjects. Let's change subjects, and we are gonna have a closer look to this. The banality of evil. Hannah Arendt. The banality of evil. Hannah Arendt. In context. Ethics. In context. Branch. Ethics. Approach. Existentialism. Before 350, Saint Augustine of Hippo writes that evil is not a force but comes from a lack of goodness. 1200s, Thomas Aquinas writes Disputed Questions on Evil, exploring the idea of evil as a lack of something rather than a thing in itself. After, American social scientist Philip Zimbardo conducts the notorious Stanford Prison Experiment, in which ordinary students are persuaded to participate in evil acts that would normally be considered unthinkable, both to themselves and to others. Now let's dive into the main text here. In 1961, the philosopher Hannah Arendt witnessed the trial of Adolf Eichmann. Adolf Eichmann. Let me take a look at how do you pronounce this German name in English. Eichmann, okay. In 1961, the philosopher Hannah Arendt witnessed the trial of Adolf Eichmann, one of the architects of the Holocaust. In her book, Eichmann in Jerusalem, Arendt writes of the apparent everydayness of Eichmann. The figure before her in the dock did not resemble the kind of monster we might imagine. In fact, he would not have looked out of place in a cafe or in the street. A failure of judgment. After witnessing the trial, Arendt came to the conclusion that evil does not come from malevolence or a delight in doing wrong. Instead, she suggests the reasons people act in such ways is that they fall victim to failures of thinking and judgment. Oppressive political systems are able to take advantage of our tendencies towards such failures and can make acts that we might usually consider to be unthinkable seem normal. The idea that evil is banal does not strip evil acts of their horror. Banal, how do you pronounce that word? Banal. Okay, let me repeat this again. The idea that evil is banal does not strip evil acts of their horror. Instead, refusing to see people who commit terrible acts as monsters brings these acts closer to our everyday lives, challenging us to consider how evil may be something of which we are all capable. We should guard against the failures of our political regime, says Arendt, and the possible failures in our own thinking and judgment. Here there's a picture of this gentleman with two police officers. It says Eichmann committed atrocities, not through a hatred to the Jewish community, Arendt suggests, but because he unthinkingly followed orders, disengaging from their effects. Okay, that was it. So we had two fruitful readings, one about a conspiracy theory, the Montauk Project, and now we just finished reading some of the thoughts, or one of the thoughts of Hannah Arendt. Thank you so much for being back there. See you next time.